Today's plant profile will be on the Madison Jasmine, which is a cultivar of star jasmine or Confederate jasmine. The Madison Jasmine is a more cold hardy cultivar. It has been taken down to about 14 to 15 degrees. The Madison Jasmine will grow on a trellis or as a ground cover. It has white blooms in the spring. It needs fertile, well-drained soil. It is not drought tolerant, so therefore during drought periods it will need to be irrigated. It will attract bees and has a strong fragrance when it blooms. Typically evergreen. It attaches itself to trellises. It will not grab walls or anything like that. It is deer resistant, and it has a waxy white sap, and that will stain things, and that sap is also poisonous, but that makes it deer resistant.
So what's the best way to make sure that I have fertile soil?
Fertile soil would be prepped, so you would add organic matter, and in alkaline soil situations you would make sure that the pH is lowered with iron and sulfur and nitrogen supplements.
So you mentioned that it is not drought tolerant, so how long could it go without a good rain before I would need to make sure that it's irrigated?
When this plant is new, it would need to be regularly watered and never go bone dry. Once the plant is established, you could let it go, somewhat dry, but you would never want this plant to go into desert-like conditions without any water. You would get permanent damage and would lead to disease.
So how fast does this plant grow? Say I have a gallon-sized container.
It is a moderate to fast grower depending on how fertile the soil is and the access to water. So you could see probably the first year, a foot or two of growth. The next year you could see every bit of 3 foot of growth if it transplanted very well.
So just to clarify, you mentioned it needs a good amount of sun, so what direction will be best for it to face?
This plant can take western exposure to filtered light. It does need direct light, but the more sun it gets, the more water it will require.